My name is Joe Freeman, and you asked us to mention who we, or what organization we represent. So I think, first of all, I represent the largest group would be taxpayers. Secondly, I represent the city of Washougal as a city councilwoman. And third, because of that responsibility, I sit on the CTRAN board of directors. But for a moment, I'd like to take a moment to thank the U.S. Coast Guard for its service and its sacrifice to our nation. Without you and other branches of brave servants, we wouldn't have the freedom to stand here tonight and have this discussion, so I thank you. And I'm a proud mother of a Navy recruit. He's been in boot camp for 2 days. So your patriotism just rises even higher, doesn't it? So as a taxpayer, as a Washougal City Council member, and as a CTRAN board member, I urge the U.S. Coast Guard to reject the current permit application for the Columbia River crossing. The city of Washougal has made their wishes known through a resolution, which I will bring to you as soon as I'm finished here. The design for the CRC has its priorities wrong. River users should take precedence over plans to bring light rail to Clark County. This current design is focused on just one thing in its planning, and that's light rail. The U.S. Coast Guard has a very different responsibility than providing light rail to a community that cannot financially sustain it, and that is to river users like the major manufacturing companies that have provided family wage jobs for years to more than 1,300 employees. Now, because the design of this bridge is to accommodate light rail, we taxpayers are going to be forced to buy out these successful manufacturing companies and send them somewhere else. Does it make sense to pay hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money for businesses that are doing exceptionally well so they can pack up, take their jobs with them, and adversely impact our community? No, doesn't make any sense. Let's build a bridge designed to meet the needs of all users, commuters, freight movers, upriver businesses and shippers, not a bridge designed only for light rail. We in Washougal, we're not against crossing the river. Sometimes us little cities are accused of that. We are not against bridges. We just want an appropriate bridge. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Number 16 is Senator Ann Rivers, and number 17 is Gary Murray.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come down here and listen to concerns on both sides of this very important issue. I have been impressed with the tone and timbre of the comments made thus far and find common ground with many of them on both sides. For example, I think that it is imperative that Thompson metal fab be mitigated to the highest extent possible. They are, for all intents and purposes, our Boeing, and we need to take care of them. Having them move out of state or find another location would be a detriment to our economy, a detriment to the cities and towns where the workers who work there live, and it certainly is just not acceptable. I'm often chided by proponents of the project about the bottleneck that exists with the existing I-5. And it occurs to me that there's little recognition that the existing design of the bridge would represent a different kind of bottleneck. It would be a bottleneck for the billions of dollars that come down the river. That's not acceptable either. I understand the monumental task that you have before you in constant communication with the Coast Guard office, and I'm recently apprised of the many boxes of information that are brought into you and that you have to go through. So I know the size of the task that you have. I appreciate that you're taking the time to do it once, to do it right, to make sure that your decision is bulletproof. I encourage you to stay that course. I encourage you to withstand political pressure and make a decision that will be best for the river users in our region. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Number 24 is Bill Turley. Number 25, David Rowe.
Thank you. My name is Bill Turley. I am a council member here in Vancouver, and I would like to put the disclaimer on this that my remarks are my own and do not reflect the majority of the City Council of Vancouver. I have adamantly opposed light rail being sent over here in the election 2009 when I ran and then when I was elected in 2011. The Columbia River Crossing project, as it's presently designed, I'm against that, but I do understand that we do need a new bridge, and I'm for that. One of my committee assignments as being on the City Council is that I serve with the Columbia River Economic Development Council. I serve on 5 committees there. I'm fully in support of all of the efforts that we're taking to increase our employment rate here in the local area and make it better home and business climate for business to come in. Mitigation to me is an unholy alliance that we're taking taxpayer dollars and we're going to pay people to move either part or all of their business out of the area. That money could be better spent in our local area and building the proper bridge. Now, just a little common sense here says we're having a problem with what? We're having a problem with the bridge clearance. If you build a bridge that goes like this, you have no limit up there. The Morrison Bridge has that in Portland. Why don't we build that type of bridge? It makes sense to me. We have bridge flips here on a regular basis locally because of the fact that the railroad bridge does not line up with the present I-5 bridges. So you have that needs to mid-span on the Columbia River, on the railroad bridge down there, and then the tugboats can come straight on up and not have to toot their horn. By law, they have to raise the bridge at that time. So to divert that traffic to the center, we don't have a lift problem anymore. We can build this bridge at its present level and have no problem at all. Mitigation to me is a very bad idea. Cost overruns are going to be borne by tolls. Tolls are absolutely going to kill this project. The financing, the federal government needs to get in there and put more money into this. Rather than putting $4 in my gas tank, at $9 billion a year, I think they ought to find $3 billion there somewhere to help pay for this bridge and take the load off of the local people who have to commute to work. Thank you very much.
Number 19, Representative Liz Pike, and number 31, Ryan Hyde.
Thank you very much. I'm here representing myself, Liz Pike, private citizen in Camas, Washington. But I'm also here as a state representative, a member of Washington's House of Representatives, representing citizens in the 18th Legislative District, who many of those are affected by this project. And first of all, thank you for your service to our country. And second of all, I would urge you to reject the current permit height. Yesterday, I spent 90 minutes with the owner of Thompson Metal Fab, and about a week ago, I made a public records request to the CRC, asking politely for the amount of money that is being mitigated or the mitigation deals with the other 2 parties that have already reached an agreement. And as a state representative, I'm even being stonewalled, which is a little bit bothersome to me, particularly when I'm being asked to appropriate $450 million to a $5.5 billion mega project after you add bonding and interest rates. So one of the things that really bothered me the most is when I was meeting with the owner of Thompson Metal Fab yesterday, is he is the most significantly impacted of the 3 companies that are in negotiations. He represents 350 workers that are very highly paid manufacturing jobs that for the greater part, we've shipped a lot of those to other countries. Yet we have this great business right here that represents those workers, and the fact that the CRC is so far apart with his negotiation, and I suspect, and he also agreed, that the CRC is probably going to say, you know, we negotiated with 2 of the 3, we're done, we're going to just let him go and worry about himself and forget about those 350 jobs, when his company represents 350 jobs, and the other 2 companies combined, at a stretch, is 60 to 80 jobs. And his company supplies huge oil rigs to the northern slopes of Alaska, and 55% of his business are these big giant projects, and 45% of his business are things that go along, smaller projects that go along with those big projects. And it's easy for him to understand that if the big projects go away, because the bridge is too short, then those little projects will also go away. 30 seconds. The last thing I want to mention is, if I was going to buy a house, I certainly wouldn't buy a house without knowing if I got applied, if my loan was approved by the bank. The Coast Guard doesn't really know how much the mitigation costs are, since those aren't even finished yet. And there really is no money, when you look at hard money appropriated for this, there's really no firm commitment from anybody. With the Oregon legislature, with their $450 million, with all their triggers in it, with the Fed's triggers, and I'm being told just as recently as this afternoon that there is no transportation package coming out of Olympia this session. So why on earth would the Coast Guard approve something that has no stable funding source and that is going to hurt so many jobs? Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I do have something I'd like to introduce.